Hi, subscribers. Welcome to video number 1 for Gemini 2019. This is Jupiter on out. For those of you who are new or who might not be used to doing the videos and audio of the month astrology, do the first video, Jupiter on out, to paint a backdrop against which all the other stuff for the month happens. So you understand the patterns that are developing over time. And as you watch these every month, this video number 1, this series of them month to month, you'll notice long-term patterns unfolding and beginning and changing and ending. And as you know, one of my goals for the subscription service is to teach you to think in terms of astrological cycles and timing, and understanding these longer moving outer planets as the backdrop against which everything else happens is really critical to that. So starting with Jupiter, it is retrograde now in Sagittarius from April 10th to August 8th, so approximately 4 months each year it's retrograde. Never really goes backward, of course, but it seems to go backward from our perspective on Earth, given how our orbits around the sun line up. From 24 Sagittarius in early April to 14 Sagittarius in early August, so covering 10 degrees, right? That central middle portion of Sagittarius. So Jupiter in general asks us to expand and believe in ourselves and have confidence and take some risks. Have faith that we're worth something better, or tomorrow can be better. And of course, in Sagittarius, we really get to evaluate the health of our beliefs and where our beliefs come from and what they're based on. Retrograde in Sagittarius, the opportunity is to evaluate where our beliefs came from and if they actually serve us. So one thing I think about quite often is that we each manifest the world around ourselves as individuals based on the kinds of things we believe, both our conscious beliefs and our unconscious beliefs. A client yesterday asked me, what do you think about manifestation? Which is, a natural entry point for me to launch into this, which is we can intend something that is fabulous with our conscious selves, and then our unconscious selves, naysayers, doubters, people who have felt burned in terms of like taking risks and believing in things with Jupiter energy, who may have felt burned in the past and they don't want to risk it again, or they feel like they've lost faith or the ability to hope that tomorrow's better, or to have faith that life is unfolding the way it needs to. Those naysayers and doubters and pained, bitter parts of us will speak up. So they are also manifesting. They're vibrating, and that manifests in front of us too. So with Jupiter retrograde, I'll invite you to, and this is a little different than how I've talked about it the last couple months, but I'll invite you to consider that whatever is in front of you that's difficult is manifesting a belief, is a manifestation of a belief from your unconscious self. So there's an opportunity to make peace with the fact that what is existing in front of you is actually serving you. Can you have faith that tomorrow can be better? Well, are you willing to have faith that this thing that's difficult or challenging in front of you actually serves a good purpose? Are you willing to give the universe the benefit of the doubt that what's happening is actually supposed to be happening for a good reason? Okay, now the big story with Jupiter this month, beyond this general backdrop of 4 months of retrograde, is the square to Neptune in Pisces, and I talked a little about it last month. This month, the square will perfect this time on Sunday, June 16th at 18 degrees and 43 minutes of Sagittarius Pisces. I say this time because as Jupiter was going direct some months ago, it did square Neptune directly, and then Jupiter stationed at 24 and is now seeming to travel backward, and now it's catching up to Neptune again. So this is the second of 3 contacts. Squares between these kinds of planets always, one says to the other one, I don't think you're doing it right, or you're doing it wrong, or here, do it this way instead. So we're talking about Jupiter in its own sign, Neptune's in its own sign. So they kind of both have a bias that they're doing it right. Jupiter says, well, this is the way the world is, and I believed it that way, and it turned out to be true. Neptune says there is something going on beyond, like something in the cosmos or some universal principle at play, some divine cosmic law or something. You can use lots of different phrases for it, but there's something going on beyond the limited scope of what you expect to find to be true. So Neptune says, there's this whole other thing happening here. Jupiter says, I just want that one thing to be true. And Neptune says, there's a whole cosmos full of things happening. So why things happen the way they do? When you're in the Jupiter groove, it's about your belief. When you're in the Neptune groove, it's about you connecting to a greater reality. So what is true? The stakes for deciding what is true can get pretty high right now. What will you let be true would be one way to think about it. Will you take your personal position, your bias, and everybody has them. Everybody has this lens or filter through which we view the world, and that is our biases and our beliefs, even if we're not aware of it. It can be hard to find out that, you know, like as we talk about equality, justice issues right now here in Western cultures on Earth, some people say, well, I mean, you know, regarding bias against women, all men have it. Or regarding bias against non-white people, all white people have it. And that can be hard to feel criticized for having a bias that we're not open-minded. Yet, you know, inherent bias is what it's called. I just remember the phrase. But the thing is that we all have these filters through which we see the world for all kinds of different reasons. And it's not all because we're complacent and feel privileged and can feel free to be insensitive jerks or something like that. It's not always like that. But we need to become aware of the filter that we see the world through. Jupiter squared Neptune is doing that. Now, Neptune is, I believe it's direct. Yes, sorry. It's direct while Jupiter is retrograde. So there's a chance, not only is the outer planet Neptune kind of like the final authority in the convo, because the outer planets move slowly and they kind of like hold space for these greater truths that are beyond personality and the limits of ego and ego's logic. So the Jupiter thing, retrograde, and the innermost planet of the two, your beliefs are up for review. So I've been coming up against this with a client yesterday, with my own life. I mean, I see it with clients all the time, but as far as like the tension mounting, I've been seeing it in a particular client's life and mine. How can I have faith that what's happening serves me when it hurts me? How can, you know, because part of the person may feel like in one kind of scenario, you might find that like you put your faith in something, it turns out not to be true. Well, you might feel like the rug is pulled out from under you. This is a 12th house Neptunian problem. So how can we do that? And the answer is, let's assume at the outset, or all the time, that what's happening serves our highest good. That we must become aware of the beliefs and pains and discomforts and traumas stored in the nooks and crannies of our unconscious. Let's put faith in for some notion, for some truth, that it is not the natural order of things for you to hold on to tension. So what is tense will attract triggers to bring it up. What is tense, what is painful, what is hurtful, what is out of alignment with a higher spiritual truth, bitterness, shame, anger, depressiveness, hopelessness, what is out of alignment with a higher truth will attract a like to trigger it to come to the surface. So anything that's in your life, this is why I'm asking you to explore having faith in this. Anything that's difficult in your life, it's there to show you something. And it's an invitation for positive growth through what may be hardship. So if you can put faith in this general principle, things happen for a good reason to serve me. Then when something comes up that's challenging, you can monitor your response and honor your resistance to it, or frustration or pain or anger or whatever, but then not get too attached to that. That's a great way to work with this square. And so you're going to see in the world around you, people, and it could be you too, but you might see it more readily in other people, essentially people being brought to their knees by frustration and finding out that what they wanted to be true isn't true. Like fighting it, resisting something that's trying to happen or trying to unfold, and they can be brought to their knees in pain and frustration and doubt and losing faith and feeling the rug pulled out from under one. So that is not abnormal during this time. I'm being a little melodramatic, well, being a little dramatic. I'm trying not to be melodramatic. I'm trying not to be unduly dramatic, but it is dramatic when you put your faith in something and then you organize your whole worldview and your life and your self-esteem around it, and then it won't happen, or it undoes itself, or it crumbles, or something like that. So if something falls apart, it's okay. Look at the identity you may have attached to that thing not falling apart. Okay, so that's a big story for Jupiter this month, and Neptune. And again, the square perfects, the second of these several squares perfects Sunday, June 16th at 18 degrees and 43 minutes. So if you have a planet around there, mutable signs or water signs, like, you know, there's an activation here, or even Virgo, of course, opposing it. Okay, now moving on to, oh, well, let me just say one more thing about this. Just because you thought something was true and